Welcome, everyone, to the first Erskine Arts podcast of 2000. I'm not looking at the camera, I forgot, and that's not what we do. The first podcast of 2020 and our 10th podcast. Yes.
Yes.
10 here. Quite a trying time at the moment in the world, I guess, with different things. But today we're here to talk about well-being and happiness. Well Happy are dedicated to providing the best and inclusive classes and workshops that promote resilient health and well-being. Today, to talk about this, we have Alaine and Alaine. Apologies. And Janine.
Yes.
Got that right?
Yeah,
there
you
go.
did it.
And
Well
Catherine. And myself, Jason. So, yeah, we're going to have a little chat about Well Happy Band, a bit about your background, where you came from, where'd you go, where'd you come from, Cotton Eye Joe, and just talk about why music and well-being is important to look after yourself. But what happened just off camera that I was kind of questioning is we were both doing a bit of a warm-up, and thought it'd be cool to maybe talk us through that and get the best out of us, and why stuff like that you would say was important to do.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Scrapes.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Okay, so this is an energy routine, and it comes from Eden Energy Medicine. So it's a woman called Donna Eden, and she works on the energy systems of the body. So we've got all our physical systems, like our pulmonary system, our nervous system, our skeletal system, but we've also got other systems within our body. So we've got like our chakra system, we've got our aura, and all these different things that science is now actually starting to be able to measure. So we do these exercises, and what they do is they help just get you nice and balanced and centred, nice and calm. They allow the two hemispheres of your brain to communicate more effectively and more efficiently, and they just help you. They can help boost your immune system. We do some tapping on different parts of the body that helps to stimulate different glands within the body. So for example, we've got one here that's the thymus gland, and it's the main gland in the immune system. So when we tap on it, we stimulate it, and its job is to provide what's called killer T cells, and these are white immune cells. And if you're ill or stressed or tired, your thymus shrinks and it doesn't work to its full capacity. So you can stimulate it by tapping on it, and you can also stimulate it by laughing. So we do laughter yoga as well. As you know, we've come here and done a wee session with you guys. So tapping on that helps, and a session of laughter yoga can boost your immune system by as much as 40% by providing more of these killer T cells that go out into your blood and attack virally infected cells and cancer cells.
Right, well.
So the energy routine starts with tapping. So first of all, we tap on the cheekbones, just directly under the pupils. And we're going to do 3 deep breaths as we do this. So in through the nose and out through the mouth. And a nice long slow breath out the mouth. And so just do your 3 breaths and I'll chat about it. So the reason we do a longer out breath is so that we can just start to calm ourselves down. We increase our carbon dioxide when we have a longer out breath than an in breath, and carbon dioxide is our body's own natural tranquilizer. So if you ever see somebody hyperventilating into a paper bag, what they're trying to do is to increase the carbon dioxide in their blood to get that high feeling and that agitated feeling of having too much oxygen in the blood. So the next tapping is just under the collarbone here. And you're just going to find a wee bit that's a wee bit not nice to touch. You might feel a wee bit bruised. Come down into the centre a wee bit, yeah, maybe about there. And you just kind of have a wee poke about between your ribs, and you'll feel a wee bit that's just a wee bit soft and spongy, maybe. And
I'm all soft and spongy.
And just give that a good tap. Now, this is on your kidney meridian. So the meridians are energy channels that flow throughout the body. And each meridian is associated with a different muscle group, with a different organ. And this one is on the kidney meridian. So this is the K27 point. So we're essentially working right now on the same system that you would use for acupuncture.
Right, okay.
Okay, so when we tap on here, what we do is we start to ground ourselves, we start to make ourselves feel a lot more calm, a lot more centred and connected. And tapping on this point helps to sort of regulate and maintain the energy flow within the body and just make sure that everything's flowing well. The one in the middle is the thymus, so if you just give that a wee thump. So there's thymus thumping is what it's called.
It's a good
and it's the thymus thumpers, yeah. And there's tribes around the world who use this, and if you can actually look at a lot of the techniques that tribal cultures use, and they're actually sort of translated into modern day things like Eden energy medicine. Okay, the next one, we can tap on the front of the ribs here, and this is our liver point. And again, this just helps to kind of, vitalises and make us feel really good and alert.
I will say, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Google, you're best jumping over to the YouTube channel and to watch it.
It's a really mental one to just listen to.
Okay, the next exercise we're going to do is a crossover exercise. So our energy flows in a crossover. So if you imagine the DNA double helix, everything's always crossing. And what happens is if I'm using my right hand and I'm using it to write over here, then it's the left hand side of my brain that's dealing with that. But as soon as I bring my hand over the midline of my body, the two hemispheres of the brain start to work together. So when we do these crossover exercises, it helps the brain. So we're going from the shoulder right down to the opposite hip.
Everyone turns off immediately.
And what I find that I do ukulele classes, or we do hapalele classes, so we integrate these techniques into ukulele lessons. And this is one that usually gets the yawns going. So if anybody's ever yawning in our classes, there's never any
issue.
Yeah,
it's not due to boredom.
No. It's very much welcome. As you're yawning, what you're doing is you're clearing out the old stale breath that's lying around the bottom of your lungs. So you're just energising yourself and bringing more oxygen into your system. Okay. The next exercise is called the Wayne Cook posture. So if you cross your left leg over your right leg.
This is my go-to pose, by the way.
Put your hands out in front of you like that. Take your left hand over your right hand. Clasp your hands together and pull them under. And just sit like that and do your 3 breaths. So Wayne Cook was a man who had a really, really bad stutter. And he found that if he stood or sat in certain positions, his stutter went away. So this is an exercise that I've used with clients who have dyslexia and dyspraxia. We worked on a project a couple of years ago with North Ayrshire Council, and there was a young boy who was to do a 20-second piece to camera, and he had dyslexia, and it was taking 45 minutes, and suddenly my husband remembered about this exercise, and he did it with him, and the wee boy did it straight away. So the difference that it can make, so it's like almost like getting yourself firing on all cylinders.
Yep.
And just getting your mind and your body into a place where they can coherently do what it is that you're wanting them to do really efficiently as well. Yeah. Okay, and then swap sides. And you can go online and you can look up Donna Eden as well. She's working with Mind Valley at the moment. I don't know if you're aware of Mind Valley. No. They're a really large organisation who look to improve people's health and well-being. It's run by a man called Vishen Lakiani, and he has studied things like meditation and different things for years and years. And he presents people with exercises that they bring along, so people like Marissa Peer, who is a hypnotherapist. You get people like Donna Eden, who does the Eden energy medicine. You get people like Jim Quick, who does the memory techniques. So there's all really Wim Hof, the Iceman. So all these people, you can look them all up online and look at the things that they're offering and how beneficial they can be for health and well-being.
Brilliant.
Okay, so we're going to just not be able to do the next one, but we're going to steeple our hands like this and just bring our thumbs up to the middle of our forehead here, and just breathe. And then just take your thumbs to your temples, bring your fingers into the middle of your forehead and drag them across, and this is called the crown pull. And you'll feel it's a really nice one. And just each time, just bring your hands back a little bit, so we're coming up and over the head. So obviously, you've got your headphones on to do your best. And just pull from the centre down to the sides. And what we're doing here is our lymphatic system, which is like our body's sewage system, your blood's got your heart to pump it around your body, but your lymphatic system doesn't have a pump, so it relies on our movement to shift it around the body. And it's basically spaces and vessels in between your cells and your in between your tissues and your organs, where extracellular fluid, waste products, all that kind of stuff gets taken and gets eventually extracted from the body through your urine and different things like that. But we have lymph up here, but our muscles stop here. So we actually have to physically help that lymph move so that we don't get build up of toxins in our tissues and different things. So that's a really good one. It helps to clear your head, helps to bring oxygen into the brain area as well, because you're stimulating the skin and it brings oxygen and blood up to the head.
Brilliant. Do you feel a bit loosey-goosey?
Yeah, it does, and it just makes you feel much more ready to do things. And even like when Alaine and I are doing things, if we've not done the energy routine, we really know that we've not done it.
It's just never anything I've ever thought of, because it's obviously situations everyone, when we do things where it might be nerve-wracking before it, be a presentation or going in for a meeting and stuff. This is something that would probably help with that as well.
Absolutely.
Rather than just
Yeah.
panicking.
Yeah. So things like the tapping, the tapping helps to reduce the cortisol levels in your blood. So cortisol is one of your stress hormones.
Right.
And as we reduce the cortisol, what we do is we increase the healing hormones in our blood, because one of the healing hormones, it's called dehydroepiandrosterone. It's a steroid hormone, but it's the same building blocks as cortisol. So when we've got high cortisol, we've got low levels of this healing hormone. And then when as we reduce the cortisol, we increase. And it's why when you're really, really stressed, your immune system can be quite depleted.
You're more subject to getting illnesses.
You don't have the resources in your system to fight off any infections or anything.
Now, we're definitely going to dive in a bit more detail about, you mentioned about some of the scientific studies. You said it's kind of catching up. Yeah, I know there might be some people watching that if they see someone in the room standing doing that, they're like, what is going on in that corner? Stay away. But there's obviously, it's real, and there's science to back this up. But what I'd like to do is take a wee trip backwards just to see how you both kind of got into. We'll start off just with well-being, how that passion, how you kind of got interested in that, and you were listing off what's the different people that are involved with it. So you're obviously super well versed in this. So it'd be interesting to hear where it kind of all began.
Okay.
Well, it all started for me when I met Janine. Me and Janine kind of met. We were. Thank you. We met at Nokangorok Festival about 10 years ago. And we became friends ever since. And then around about 2013, I had just become a mum. I was a mum for about a year. And Janine was up staying over, because Janine stays in Saltcoats. I was living in Glasgow at the time, so whenever we saw each other, we were always staying at each other's houses, because it's about a 40-minute drive. And she had this business idea, and she wanted to. Janine had been learning about energy and this kind of science behind it since 2007. And I had done science degrees at university, so what she was saying was making an awful lot of sense. I was kind of starting to sort of investigate the kind of whole field of energy and linking it back to my knowledge through science.
For academic studies,
And the thing about kind of going on this type of journey is that you only learn by experience. You know, people can tell you all they want, but you really only kind of get the big aha moments when you start to kind of do it yourself. So I was kind of getting there with it, and Janine had this business idea, and I was originally coming in to do all the admin and stuff, which is what I was doing at the time. And Janine was to deliver the classes, but it didn't really do anything.
No, it did not.
It really didn't. So we started Well Happy in 2014, and the two of us kind of went on this crazy emotional journey
of self-discovery and challenging everything you ever thought was real and true. And
yes, so we went through a couple of years of feeling incredibly isolated. And just while our whole world kind of shifted, because we were kind of getting rid of a lot of our beliefs about the world, and I was a new mum as well, so we ended up just working to our strengths, which I think was probably the best thing that we could do. Because I'm not really suited to admin work, even though I did it for 10 years. It definitely wasn't my kind of thing. So, but that's kind of where the band sort of started, because I thought, well, I can do the admin begrudgingly, or I can try and add to this in some way. And Janine had written a few songs, I'd written a few songs, and we decided to just kind of jump in and get a band, which was one of my ultimate dreams. I've been playing in bands since I was that size. But it was a really kind of good amalgamation of two things that I really liked. I really liked the science about things. I liked learning about all these kind of new techniques. And my passion was music and performing and doing all that. So in 2016, we started the band.
Where did the kind of inspirations come from, the songs and all that kind of stuff?
I think...
Get right in about this.
Well, for me it was that sort of changing of perspectives, sort of that shift brought on by this new awareness that it's not just the physical world that's around us, it's that energetic part of it as well, and there really is no difference between the physical and the non-physical. It's all energy, it's just energy vibrating at different frequencies. And this is all really well documented. You know, Einstein. So, I mean, I studied biomedical sciences at uni, so my sort of passion was microbiology and biology, anatomy and physiology, and I studied Swedish massage in my early 20s. So that sort of health and well-being thing was always there. I met a woman through my work at the time who was studying Reiki, and I just thought, well, that's a load of rubbish. What? And then over the years, having individual experiences with it and seeing the difference that it actually made to my life, to other people's lives, and you know, even the difference it makes to animals, or like Alaine and I would sit and do some Reiki in our house, and all of a sudden our cats would be there going, hiya.
Very much so.
And they would just want to sit there while you did it, and they're not the friendliest, you know, of cats in general when people come into the house. So
as in they're shy.
yeah. No, they're not clawing at you or anything, but they tend to stay away. But it would be as soon as we started doing Reiki, they would be there. Yeah. And that was something that for me was really a big eye-opener as well. But I studied laughter yoga in 2007, and I became a laughter yoga leader. And I'd gone into businesses and different things to promote that, and then sort of getting together with Alaine to make it something more concrete and something more tangible that we could then take forward and help people with.
So the songs kind of came about...
Oh yeah, that was the question.
Yeah. The songs kind of came about just that kind of sort of journey, and my perspective was I was a new mum and I was also learning about all this new stuff. So I had written, all my songs that I'd written were all like angsty and rah. And then I kind of became a mum, chilled out a wee bit, and
wrote a lullaby and everything.
Lullabies and really nice songs, yeah. So I'd kind of chilled out a wee bit. Sort of was having to manage my stress levels, because you get very stressed when you're a new parent, which is challenging.
I definitely want to talk more about the music itself and writing, but saying that was it 2014 that you kind of came together and started questioning stuff? I mean, that's 6 years ago. Really isn't that long a time. Was that not quite a... I mean, that would really put people in quite a hole emotionally to start then, after being on this earth for so long, to then start questioning and seeing things totally differently. How kind of did that affect both of you?
Well, it did affect us, but we had the techniques to be able to overcome it.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of work. It's been really, really, really challenging at times.
A lot of work that it's been hard work, but hard work from an emotional point of view. Rather, it was a different type of hard work, essentially, is what we would expect. And but it's we kind of feel like we've come out the other side of that.
Absolutely.
I mean, we had each other as well, you know. So the two of us were kind of going through it at the same time. And a lot of people going to talk about the sort of it's like energetic isolation, because you're around people, you know, but then you also find that the people that you're around that you used to connect with, you're not connecting with so much anymore. So there's that understanding of like moving on from relationships, and if you felt stuck, if you're on this kind of journey, you don't feel stuck for long. You can't deal with those emotions for a long period of time. You have to act, because the contrast becomes really, really massive. Whereas before, you'd kind of be going, okay, I can kind of put up with that. Now you're like, I actually can't do it, and it's not like I'm being rubbish. I can't actually handle it. So that's when the two of us would kind of sit and kind of chat things over and work things out and
Tap for an hour.
But yeah, it's all the hard work that we've put in over the last kind of 6 years is really the momentum's starting to move in the direction that we really want it to now. So
When you started it, did you think that it would have that massive effect on your life?
No. Because it's like a different life we're living now. It's completely different underlying beliefs and attitudes that we have. We've kind of overcome all that sort of social conditioning about what you belief about your place in the world. You know, even just beliefs about what it is to be a woman in our society. Those things are really ingrained into you. So we've spent quite a lot of time over the last few years looking at what our beliefs are. And we've got certain techniques that we can use to sort of communicate with the unconscious, so that we can check what our actual underlying beliefs are, and if they're serving us, and if they're not serving us, we've got other techniques that we can use to sort of take it out like a computer program and put a new program in. So that when you're working from your unconscious, which most of us do 95% of the time, we're working from our beliefs and our programming, it means that those programs are actually benefiting us rather than making us self-sabotage or work against ourselves.
yeah.
Brilliant.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people will live their whole lives not having that kind of experience, I guess, that's changing.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that I think was a kind of big wake up call for me was there's loads and loads of beliefs that you have that you can't do something, even if you don't consciously believe you can do it. There might be an underlying unconscious belief that you can't do something, and that puts you in a state of fear more than anything else.
Just outside wildlife. Yeah, just say
Fear.
Those are locked.
Good. But it was the absolute understanding and knowledge that you can put your mind to absolutely anything that you want, as long as you think about it the right way, as long as your mindset's right. So we talk about the difference between a fixed mindset, which is something that I very much had before I discovered all this, and a growth mindset, which is a different kind of internal chat. And instead of I can't do this, it can be more like, well, I can't do this yet, but I know that I'm going to be able to do it. Whereas beforehand it would be cut off at I can't do it, well, I'll just not do it then.
You wouldn't even have a visible pathway of how you may be able to do it, because your beliefs were just saying no, it's not possible. Whereas once you go in and you sort of change those underlying beliefs, it opens up new possibilities, and you see different opportunities where maybe previously you didn't have that.
I mean, there's even obviously that can be quite a big thing of I can't do this, and it's quite a big thing. But even the smaller things, even with yourself and with the crew, there's been, you know, smaller things like at the very start, there's no way I'll ever be able to do a podcast or ever be able to do this.
Like, there's no way I'll ever be able to figure out how to coil a wire. Just small things like that, or set up a mic.
Which is ironic because your second name's Coil.
You should know how to coil, being a coil.
But then now you're here, and that's kind of the environment we've always tried. Is, you know, we don't like when people just say they can't do something. You know, we always try and be in an environment where, you know, there's I can do attitude, but the people at least try things. You know, and we have that as a workforce as well. That there's lots of things, obviously, just to the nature of being the third sector and social enterprise. There's a lot of things we need to learn. You know, and all the time it is, you know, I can't do this, but give me 3 months, and I'll be able to do it a wee bit. You know, and it kind of goes on from there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, for me, a lot of the kind of I can't do came from school, and putting, you know, I'm not really an exam or a test person. I was a very academic pupil, but put me into a situation where there is an exam, and I would immediately go into the fight or flight response, which one of the things that happens is that 70% of the blood leaves your brain, so you can't actually think. So I was studying for months, and then going in and like almost not being able to read the question, because I'd be so panicked
and
about
you
it.
hear that story for loads of
Yeah,
people.
and what it does is it actually knocks the fun out of learning.
So, shiver there, you all right?
But it knocked the fun out of learning for me, so I had to then change my beliefs about learning, because a lot of it was whenever I thought about tests, whereas now I'm able to put myself into a nice, calm, open sort of mindset of, well, I'm going to go in and I'm going to try my best, and that's going to be good enough.
Things are always working out for me.
Things are always working out.
Brilliant. Would you say that schools play a part in that kind of, not here to slag schools obviously, but that institution of,
Probably more the education system as a whole. The way, it was created for the Industrial Revolution, our education system, and it was created to get people smart enough to work in factories. We don't have that system anymore. We've moved on from that, but our education system really hasn't caught up, and there are so many things. We're teaching children what to learn instead of teaching them how to learn.
Yeah,
and if we could teach them things like from a really, really young age, how their body works, how emotions work, how they can control their behaviours much more easily than a lot of people don't even believe that they can control themselves. And if we could also put in things like Jim Quick's memory techniques, things like that, you've got children who would be able to learn much faster, learn much easier. There would be less stress. They would also be more creative, because the memory techniques actually improve your creativity. When we improve our creativity, our resilience is improved because we can problem solve better. So the knock-on impact of changing the education system and the way that children learn would be huge for the health of our society.
Definitely. That's definitely a topic that could be the podcast. A reform could do it. But before I let Catherine loose on some questions, I really want to ask you, obviously there's a lot more scientific backing behind a lot of stuff. Have you noticed any changes from when you started out doing workshops and different events to now in the way people view well-being, and a lot of the techniques that you do, are people more serious now, and is there
it's much more on the curriculum in businesses and schools, and people are much more likely now to understand the link between physical and mental health. There's a whole area of study called psychoneuroimmunology, and it's about how our thoughts and our feelings and what's going on round about us has an impact on our immune system and on our health in general. So that's kind of what I've noticed.
And saying, we were talking about schools earlier on, schools actually are a lot better today about dealing with talking about emotions and talking about emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence has actually been proven to be more indicative of success versus IQ.
Right.
So being able to control your emotions in any given situation is a way to be a successful person. And if you actually think about it, the only thing that you can control in this world is yourself. So if we were to teach kids how to be able to control themselves, they would be able to get much better and quicker solutions to the problems that they've got.
Teaching them to deal with things like overwhelm and stuff like that as well.
Yep.
Just especially with our media the way it is at the moment, it's an absolute barrage continuously of fear and stress, and the impact that we know that has on the immune system. Especially with what's going on in the country and the world at the moment, it's really, really important that people are understanding that they do have more control over their health and their well-being than they're currently being made aware of.
Yeah, it's definitely something that it should be taught and instilled in children, young, so that when they're growing up, they can. We know that children, when they're overwhelmed, it's just a burst, and they might lash out and hit someone or just lash out, because there's nothing else there to do at that point, because it's not
and
getting...
it's the consequences for that wee one then, and what then happens.
And they don't understand why they've done what they've done. Catherine, I'm going to let you listen to a few things you've got here. Some talking points.
So what are your kind of musical and professional backgrounds? So obviously you've talked about how the whole thing started, but apart from that, how would you say that you've got into either music or your studies in science and all that kind of stuff?
Even before uni.
Well, I wanted to study music and art, but my mum told me I had to study science, so I did that. You'll never get a job as a musician. No. But it's really good now because I went and did the science stuff and it actually ties in with everything that we're doing anyway. So I did that at school. I went on to studied business admin for a year, and then I studied biomedical sciences at James Watt and Caledonia in Glasgow. And from that I then moved on to work with the Red Cross. I worked with people who come in for sort of day services, people with physical disabilities, and we did a whole load of arts programmes with them. So we did some music, we did arts and crafts, we did woodcraft. We had organisations who came in and we worked sort of cooperatively with the community venues and community organisations so that we could create links for the people coming into the centre with activities in their own communities. So we would have activities within our place, and then we would assist them to link on to other groups within the community. And I really, really enjoyed that. And again, that came up with the whole wellbeing thing. My boss at the time had a college of complementary medicine, and it was her that put me through the Swedish massage at the time, so that was really, really good. And then I moved from there. I was self-employed for a few years. I was doing lots of art therapeutic stuff. And then I started doing the Laughter Yoga 2007. Then I worked for Women's Aid as a trainer for 7 years. And within that, I also was able to do some artistic things as well and still have my own business at the same time, and still providing classes. We've been teaching ukulele for a few years. But everything's just kind of developed in one thing, and it's grown really organically over the last few years, which has been really nice.
And easy to manage.
Yeah.
Yes, I've even did that.
And then obviously when I met Alaine, that's really when I kind of got back properly into music, because I played the saxophone in the school band and the jazz band.
Nice.
And then really didn't do anything musically for about 20 years, and I just, because I had been so led to believe that nothing could come of it, what was the point? But without really understanding at that point that it had a benefit to my physical and mental health and just the way that I would feel about life in general.
Okay, so go. I started playing the keyboard at 6 really, but started going to keyboard lessons at 8 and kept on going until I was about 16. And in high school I learned the clarinet, taught myself how to play guitar, learned my left hand from keys to piano, so kind of moved on that way. Met Janine, learned the ukulele. So I've always been really, really musical, but again, it was, I can always remember the career advisor saying to me at 14, well, you've got to decide what it is that you've got to do, and I'm like,
no.
14.
I know, and I was like,
up until you retire, this is it. What are you doing?
So I really wanted to do music, but the music theory kind of part, as much as I was glad that I learned it, that really wasn't why I was involved in music. It's more a field
kind
thing.
of anti-creation, isn't it?
A wee bit, yeah. It's good to kind of have the foundation a bit, but I kind of feel that I learned more just by being in bands and understanding that music from that kind of dynamic. So at 14, again, there was that idea of, well, I don't know how many successful musicians there are exactly, even though I really want to be a rock star. So I'll go and I'll do the sciences. So I went to Glasgow for 4 years and did an honours in medical biochemistry. And I think I graduated with about 400 other people. So there certainly wasn't 400 jobs. And I went, I've got one better, I'll do a master's. So I went to Strathclyde for a year and did a master's in immunopharmacology. And came out the other end, and really glad I did it, but really not ever wanting to do anything like that ever again. So I then fell into admin jobs for about a decade, and for me that was just having first-hand experience of really, really toxic environments. Right. And because I didn't really want to work there, I really didn't want to be there. Are you all right?
Yeah, my water bottle filled.
Okay. So it wasn't a particularly pleasant 10 years. Just purely from now that I understand, just from an energetic point of view, I was not in the right place and working with people that were also not in the right place. So that kind of means that sort of the toxicity kind of builds and builds and builds. So thankfully, about 4 or 5 years ago, I was able to leave my last admin job.
Yes.
But throughout that, I had been playing in bands and gigging as often as I could. And when Jamie came along in 2012, I was on stage a month after a massive C-section, going, "This is what I'm going to do."
Yep.
So throughout being having a young kid, I was always in bands. I had 2 bands, I think, on the go at that time. And met Janine and was really glad, because then all the kind of sciencey stuff that I'd done before was then coming back into the scene again. So it's kind of worked really well for us.
A meeting of fate.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Do you ever wonder what would
Sliding
be now
doors.
if you've never crossed paths?
Yeah.
Actually, I don't. It's so far removed.
probably not-
It's so
yeah.
far removed now.
Did you have quite a musical family growing up then? Was some your parents or any siblings you've got, or people were there? Was there quite a musical buzz
Well,
about the household?
my dad's in
The
the band.
band.
Happy band. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does your dad play?
He's the guitarist.
Oh,
Robert.
didn't know.
Oh, sorry, Bob. Brother Bob.
Brother Bob.
Or dad.
Yeah, it'd be weird if we started the
Yeah.
Brother Bob chat. Right, Dad, brother, what?
Yeah.
So was your dad kind of one of your main inspirations for getting involved with music then?
Was a guitar player. One of my earliest memories is him playing the guitar and just having nice memories of
time.
that. Yeah. So my dad retired a few years ago, and we were needing a guitarist, and my dad was like, "Hiya."
That's brilliant.
I was like, "Yeah, come on." So so my dad was the kind of musical parent, and I just got a lot of joy from sitting at a keyboard for hours trying to work stuff out, and probably like working out a lot of other stuff in my head while I was working that out, which is good. So so that's kind of how all that started.
Brilliant.
So as Janine was kind of saying, you said that you didn't really realise until kind of more recently the connection between like music and your actual physical health.
Yeah.
So what would you say is like the difference between like cutting all that out and saying, oh, there isn't any
Yeah,
point
but a
in
lot of
it?
people treat them very, very separately. You get your physical, people are into sport or they're into art. You know what I mean? This crossover doesn't seem that important to a lot of people.
Yeah, and again, that comes from for me. That comes from a lot of conditioning about
Absolutely.
what's important in our society, and we're told that art and music aren't important, and we're told that every time the councils cut the budgets for art and music and put it towards things like maths and science, not everybody learns in the same way for a start. So young people can be quite disenfranchised by school and education because their needs and their learning objectives aren't met. Sorry, what was the question again? I've forgotten the question.
Music.
Physical
music.
Yeah, so and music's a whole body and brain experience. Like you can go out and you can play tennis or you can play pool or whatever, but music lights up your whole brain. If you see it on a scan, and actually learning an instrument from a young age increases the volume of the corpus callosum, which is the sort of bridge between the two hemispheres of the brain, and allows the two hemispheres to communicate much more effectively. And you'll see from young people who play instruments or young people who are bilingual, those things actually help them with their learning, so then they can learn things much more easily and much more quickly. But for me, it's a relaxing thing when I started playing the ukulele. I remember one day I wanted to learn how to play Dream a Little Dream of Me, and I spent about 12 hours one day just sitting playing it, and because I hadn't been playing long and it's quite a complicated song. And I was like, no, I just want to learn that. I didn't want to learn the ukulele, I just wanted to learn songs. Yeah. And so I kind of did it a wee bit backwards, and I learned the songs that I wanted to learn, and I spent that time and that focus and that concentration learning those things, which wasn't something I'd ever really done up until that point. I'd always been quite flighty about things. I'd never really given anything that much attention. and I noticed very, very quickly how much easier I was feeling. And the ukulele especially, it's such a portable instrument, and you can just take it in your bag, you can just have it sitting out, play it for a couple of minutes, put it away. And I tell all the students that a wee bit, 5 minutes a day is better than an hour a week, because it also helps the way that the neurons are created in our brain. So when we do something over and over, we create neural pathways in our brain. But if you do something now and then you waited till next week, a lot of those pathways would be pared back, and you'd have to kind of start over again. But if you do a little bit every day, it tends to build on it.
It's interesting to kind of hear the science behind that. Obviously, everyone, when you're practicing any instrument, people like practice a little bit every day, don't leave it a month and then practice, but without really thinking, why actually is that the case, other than you're out of practice? Why should you practice? It's good that there's
a really good study.
Reasons.
It's the Harvard piano study. So they got participants in the study to play 5 notes on a piano, do 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 do, for 2 hours a day over 5 days, and they scanned their brains every day, and they looked at the part of the brain that was responsible for the movement of the extensors and the flexors and the fingers. And what they discovered was, over the 5 days, the neural bundle got bigger and bigger and bigger. Then they had a break for 2 days, and when they came back, it had shrunk down. But along with that particular part of the study, they had people just imagining that they were doing the 5 notes, playing the notes. And what they found was that in those people, their neural bundles increased as well, almost to the same level as the people who were actually doing the exercise. So that's why mental exercise and mental rehearsal is so important. And you see that with athletes and anybody who's doing anything where they need a lot of focus or concentration to be able to do something. When they do it, just practice it in their head first, they're much more likely to be successful when they actually come to do it. And then there was a third group who didn't do anything, and their neural bundles just stayed the same size that they had been.
Amazing.
So, like, when you started playing music and picking it all up and playing ukulele, would you say there was like changes in your everyday life, as well as, like, obviously you said it relaxed you and stuff like that, but
it was something that I now did every day. I'd never really had a proper, I'd figure skated when I was young, I played a lot of sports when I was a teenager, but I'd never really had that kind of hobby or something that I was focused on, and it was the first thing that I could ever really remember actually watching myself progress at and seeing myself get better at it. Whereas everything, I'd just always kind of been good at stuff, but never brilliant at anything, and just picked things up really easily.
That's what I loved about learning an instrument, actually seeing that progression. I play guitar, I never really think, you can't sit here and say you're good at something, can you? It's a bit pure good. But quite decent at guitar, and I sometimes...
Very good at guitar.
Thanks very much, Sharon. Thanks for helping me. Fiver later that said
you
to
should
say
come
that.
have a jam. Come have a jam.
That'd be amazing.
We have community nights every couple of months, and anybody who can play an instrument, if they let us know in advance, we'll send them out some tunes that they can practice.
Something
and they
we
can
could
come
probably
along.
Might actually be able to liaison a bit more detail. That's really cool. But it's hard sometimes to, as you say, with anything else, like with school, it's just things are happening, but actually seeing a progression in something, sometimes you don't see the moment you're living in until you reflect on it a lot of the time. So actually looking back, being like, well, I must have, you can see the progression. It's that's what I love about guitar, and be able to look back, and if there is a song that you were determined to learn that song, and however long it takes, and then you're like, I can play that now.
And the journey to learning it was really, really cool. And if you're happy when you're learning, you learn a lot quicker. It's like
it's state dependent.
If you walk into something really not wanting to do it, you find that there's an awful lot of obstacles in your way, or you find that you're beating yourself up mentally in your head because you're not where you want to be. But if you just let all of that go and just understand that if you do keep on repeating, you've got no choice, you're always going to get better. That's how the brain works, is through repetition, which is why if you don't do it for a couple of days,
you lose that skill.
You lose it again. So if the brain's learning by repetition, and if you can just forgo any judgment about how fast you're going, you actually end up speeding through your learning and making, instead of learning one song a day, you could learn 3 if you've got the right mindset for it.
And I've discovered recently as well a big difference in how quickly I pick up a new song. So before it would take me quite a long time, but now I'm getting sort of more versed in sort of musicality and different aspects of music, and I can feel myself picking things up much quicker.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I remember at the start when I just started coming to lessons here, it was songs that I'd never heard of, like Horse with No Name. What was the...
It's a good title.
No, it was the... Bad Moon Rising.
Bad Moon Rising.
A wee bit of Credence.
Yeah, but obviously I was, 10, so I'd never heard of
real?
any.
That's a very good musical education for a teen.
Thanks very much. Lessons are available.
Absolutely.
I never heard any of this stuff. So obviously you were saying go home and practice, and I'm like, I don't know these songs.
When Catherine,
I don't like these songs.
Not to throw you under the bus here, but
no.
I'm about it. When Catherine when you first came to learn guitar, any song that was pre-2016-17 was
not
old.
interested.
We were putting on like, this one will be a good one. It's like a pop song from 2010. Gavin was like, what? Old.
Michael Jackson.
But now that's changed, and I think Craig put on all of the bands went totally out of my head. What's the band?
I know what you're talking. The New York Dolls.
The New York Dolls. Craig put one on the track, and Catherine was pure into it. I was like, well, that's a little bit before 2010.
Very much changed.
So you've changed that now, and I think your capacity for learning because of that and open up is probably changed. Not to put words in your mouth.
But yeah, when I was going home and trying to practice the songs, it was so hard because I wasn't interested. And then I found after I started picking up the chords and looking into it myself and songs I actually liked, I was practicing every night.
Yeah.
It's
If you're connected to what it is that you're doing,
if you want to do it,
easier.
it's so much easier. Not offense, Jason.
I did like the songs. You're all right. Wish I did.
Kind of related to that, Catherine, when I started the ukulele, I had my ukulele sat up on top of a cupboard for 5 years before I picked it up again because I was trying to learn from a book, and it was songs like going to work down the railroad and like really American traditional songs like Woody Guthrie stuff and things like that I didn't know at the time. And things like Oh My Darling, Oh My Darling, Oh My Darling.
Do you mean you went into that as a young person? What?
It's a good song for you, Catherine. But when I did like 2 days of that, and I was like, don't want to do this.
It's just so hard to connect. But obviously now I'm playing classical guitar.
Oh, brilliant.
And playing like chordy stuff, like in the chordy stuff in the studio, and it's like the difference is mental, but it's like the same thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And are you really enjoying it now?
Yeah, every night.
You have to say that though, don't you? On a podcast.
So one of the things that you used when you came down for your session in the studio was music to spread kind of like well-being and like happiness. How did you find like that connection within spreading it? Like obviously it's one.
We done the standing in the circle when you came down.
That's right.
I don't know if based on what I just had, what you were saying, Catherine, maybe what talk us through some of the kind of things you do when you come to groups. And the one that I loved was when everyone was in a circle and it was like mimicking rain.
Oh, we did the rainstorm.
Everyone, all the young people that were down loved it, as well as us standing at the back and doing it in a wee circle. But were these activities that were already established? Are these things you've tailored, or?
Yeah, well, the rainstorm actually I learned it about 25 years ago, and it was a group called Independence that came to my work when I was at the Red Cross.
Good name.
And they had explained, it was a dance company for people with physical disabilities. So the people I was working with had physical disabilities, and as I was saying earlier, we would get organisations in to do arts projects, and that was one of them. And I was actually where I saw the Eden Energy Medicine, the energy routine as well for the first time. But what was I saying?
Rain dance.
The rain dance, thank you. Rainstorm.
Here. Whenever Janine gets a wee bit lost, I just put the word in and she just goes
Thank you. You're welcome. Go on a wee tangent and then I'll help me back. So they had explained it as it was created by a Native American elder called Grandma Keys, and when the Native Americans were getting taken off their land and put onto reservations, there was a lot of the tribes that didn't speak the same language, so she wanted to create something that could bring the tribes together and be like an activity that they could have as a sort of meditation, and just to kind of communicate between the tribes, and that's what she had developed, was this rainstorm, basically using body percussion and starting off really, really quiet and then building it up and then taking it back down again.
It was great. You could see everyone enjoying it, and it seems that, you know, when people attend these sessions, you know, they don't have to be musical.
No, not at all.
To understand these things, there's stuff like the rhythm of that rhythm of rainfall is something that's kind of in us anyway, that a lot of people they probably won't think about until they're actually doing it. What kind of feedback have you had from sessions? Has there been people that have been apprehensive before getting involved? I mean, certainly some of our young people were until they did, and then they're like, I can do this. And it's good fun.
It depends on what we're doing. If we're doing something like laughter yoga is designed to take you out of your comfort zone anyway, because a lot of people don't just stand about and laugh for no reason. There's got to be a trigger for that laughter. But because there are so many health benefits, like laughter yoga was invented by a medical doctor 25 years ago. So his name was Madan Kataria, and he lived in Mumbai. Was it Delhi?
Mumbai.
And he'd been discovering all the health issues. He'd been doing a lot of research on all the health issues of laughter yoga, and decided that he wanted to get this out to the world. So laughter yoga was invented in a park at 6 o'clock in the morning with him and his wife, who was a yoga teacher. That's where the yoga comes from, is the breathing. But a lot of people don't just stand about, as I say, and laugh. So it's our job to manage the first 10 to 15 minutes, because when you start laughing, even if you fake laugh, eventually you start kind of laughing anyway, so your inhibitions start to come down, you start to get less stressed. If you're making eye contact, which is one of the main points of laughter yoga, is you're connecting with people as you do it, so you realise you're all in this together, so might as well just have a good time. And when people relax into it after about the 10-minute mark, that's when the proper biochemical changes for healing start to happen within the body.
So laughter really is the best medicine.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's there for a reason.
It releases endorphins, which are your happy chemicals, and it reduces your stress hormones, the adrenaline and the cortisol.
So obviously we've been talking about laughter yoga quite a lot. I think I missed that bit when I was down. So could you actually just talk us through what it is you do when you're actually doing it?
Okay. It's laughter exercises coupled with yogic breathing. So the laughter exercises last sort of 20 to 30 seconds. They might be a wee bit longer if you've got a bigger group, but everybody would be kind of milling about the floor, and we'll do some breathing exercises. Alaine and I will explain what the laughter exercise is going to be. So one of them is called Time to Laugh, and it looks like this. What time is it?
It's time to laugh.
So you would go down the room and you would just go up and ask people what time is it, and make eye contact, and you're right there. You're right, James.
Right.
Yeah, and then so in between the laughter exercises, because when you're laughing you take in lots and lots of oxygen, and we don't want people to get lightheaded or to feel anxious in any way. So in between we do breathing exercises, and that's the yogic part of it. So we would take a breath in, and then, as I said earlier, the long slow breath out. It helps us to increase the carbon dioxide in our system, and just helps to kind of maintain that balance while producing the endorphins and making you feel really good and relaxing your muscles and
getting blood flow to everywhere. Cleaning out toxins.
We do like a good giggle here, don't we? Obviously, myself and Craig's chat, and not Ali's.
Top-notch patter. They all three.
Who is off camera.
So what other kind of services do the Well Happy Band offer, apart from obviously your laughter yoga?
So Well Happy.
So Well Happy would be the kind of services part of it. So within Well Happy, we are providing it's a crutch. Within Well Happy, we offer basically sessions in health and wellbeing. So we can teach people things like biohacking. So little techniques that you can use to actually hack your biology and your biochemistry. So different breathing techniques, things like laughter yoga. Alaine and I are both trained in a technique called EFT, which is short for emotional freedom techniques. and it's a tapping therapy. So you tap on different parts of the body. That's the kind of points there in the top of the head. And in doing this, it helps either, you can use it for lots of different reasons. You can use it for pain management. You can use it for ridding yourself of limiting beliefs. You can use it if you have got any sort of emotional attachment to any particular person or event that's happened, that every time you think of it, you perhaps get anxious about it. So you can use the tapping, and what the tapping seems to do, or what they believe that the tapping is doing, is dissolving the neural pathway between the thought and the emotion. It's a process called depotentiation, and it means that afterwards the person who has gone through the tapping can then think of the event or the person or whatever it is that's been causing them any kind of distress, and they don't have that distress anymore. So that's that's what Alaine and I have used quite a lot over the last few years for various sort of things that go on in our lives. So we've got the sort of biohacking and health and wellbeing, and teaching people how to use their body. So giving them techniques that they can use anytime, anywhere. There's no charge. Once they've paid, if they pay to come along to a session, for example, once they've got that information, they've got it, they can use it for the rest of their lives, and it's stuff it's portable, it's coming everywhere with you, people can use it anytime. And, for us, it's really important to be able to give people that opportunity and that knowledge and that control back over their lives. But we also offer things like musical workshops, songwriting workshops, ukulele lessons. When we do gigs at festivals, what we tend to do is maybe the day before or earlier in the day, if it's a later gig, we'll have a workshop where people can come along and make their own shakers, like we did when we came down here. And then when we're on stage, the people can come on stage with us and shake along with us, and have that experience of sort of being part of a band.
That was you'd done that at the Pop Space in the Piazza.
Oh, yeah,
And got people involved. Well, that was great. Again, just making it, and people that might not have seen themselves musical, getting involved in music. Yeah, that was great.
And it's the feeling of being included in something as well. Even if you're not doing it right, it doesn't matter. It's that just feeling of being there, everybody's having a good time, and you're involved in it, and
that
just
moment,
that feeling of being connected. And
it's a great thing about music, when you're playing that song, it exists in that moment, and when you stop playing that guitar, that it doesn't exist anymore. So having these people, involved in that is really amazing. Don't want to interrupt. Ali, can you give us a wee time check? Because I forgot to do a wee timer here. Could you check on the camera?
6:30.
6:30. I don't know how long we've been recording. I usually do a wee timer. It's cute. Oh, it could go on. Just while Ali's. Thanks, Ali. Appreciate that. Thank you. What events have we got coming up? What's in the calendar for Well Happy and Well Happy Band? And here comes the
Calendars out. Well, we're working with the Scottish Mental Health Arts Festival again this year.
Brilliant.
So, like yourselves, we're working with the Renfrewshire group, and we've got a few events on. We got the 29th of March. We start 6 weeks of free ukulele lessons, which is open to anyone. It's going to be held at the Renfrewshire Carers Centre in Abbey Mill Business Centre in Paisley.
Brilliant.
And it's for anybody, absolute beginners, and after the 6 weeks, the people who've been involved will get the opportunity to come and perform as part of our night at the Bungalow on the 16th of May. So we're going to have a positive perspectives party, because the theme of the festival this year is perspectives.
Yep.
So it'll be like a kind of summer festival vibe. There'll be a performance from the Well Happy Band. We're hoping to get a local choir involved. We've got another couple of sort of local musicians who'll be coming along, that providing sort of upbeat entertainment. And we'll also have like wee pods all the way around the bar with information for people on things like how to lower your blood pressure, how to make yourself feel good, how to relax yourself, all these different things. And we'll have a quiz and a raffle, obligatory quiz and obligatory raffle.
Not a night to be missed.
Not a night to be
It's
missed.
going to be a good one.
And we'll have some of the ukulele students who did the 6 weeks last year have continued on with us on a monthly basis. We run a first Sunday of the month ukulele class in the Carers Centre again. And they're going to come along and participate in it as well. On the 9th of May, we've got a night at St Matthew's Church with Fundamental Conduit and Friends, which is a local group who put spoken word to music.
Cool.
So they work with people who perhaps have had mental health issues and who want to explore a wee bit more about writing and what can be gained from some creative writing, and it's put to music as well. So there's a really nice vibe that goes along with that as well. And that's I mentioned the party.
We could literally be here probably for
For
the
days.
days going through the calendar.
We're also playing the 29th after the ukulele lessons on the 29th of March. We're also playing up in Glasgow for 23 promotions. We're doing a wee acoustic night next to the bars.
And we'll have festivals over the summer, hopefully.
Yes, well, we've been confirmed for doing the Rabbit Hole.
Nice.
And
nice
Eden.
Well, not confirmed for Eden yet, but we will be.
That's where we'd like to be.
Yes. So we've got another couple, but we can't announce them yet because
It's not all confirmed
It's
yet.
not up
it's
yet.
not all confirmed yet.
Well, thank you both so much.
Oh, thank you for
being
having
here.
us. It's been a pleasure.
If you want to check out Well Happy or the Well Happy Band, we will have links to all the social medias.
Thank you.
Facebook and whatever else you have,
Thank you,
websites and all
Catherine, as
that.
well. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine,
Well
for
done.
being here. Catch you in the next one. Brilliant.